Hi everyone, it's Eve here from Off Your Tree, and today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about aftercare and healing your new piercing. Healing a new piercing can be a little bit intimidating, and it's something that puts people off getting piercings all the time is the long, lengthy healing process. So today I'm going to break it down for you and make it as easy to understand and as easy to follow as possible. Of course, each piercing has a different rate of how they heal, so that is worth noting and discussing with your piercer before going ahead and following this video. So what should you be using to clean your new piercing? Well, to clean your new piercing, we always instruct to use saline solution to do so. This is because saline solution is a 0.9% sodium chloride salt mixture, and it's also mixed with water, which matches your body fluid concentration. It's used widely to cleanse wounds, flush eyes, and hydrate dry tissues. It is the best thing that you can use to heal your new piercing, as it is non-drying, it doesn't burn the area, it's super gentle, and there's no harsh chemicals. What saline does is it helps to flush away any bacteria or debris that's in contact with your piercing to enable a smoother and healthier healing journey. So once you have your saline solution ready to go, I'm going to run you through how I like to clean my piercings. So the first thing that I like to do when cleaning a new piercing is I'll ensure that I have clean, sterilized hands before touching anywhere, just so that way we're not actually putting more bacteria on the area instead of cleansing it away. So once my hands are completely clean and free of any dirt, I will then grab my saline solution, which I recently got when I got my last piercing, which is just this guy right here. And what I'll do from there is I will pop that onto a cotton tip. So personally, I like to spray it onto either side of the cotton tip, just so that way I can utilize either side without bringing the back of the piercing in contact with the already dirty side of the Q-tip. So what I'll do is I'll ensure that both sides are nicely saturated with the saline solution, and then I will very gently clean the front and the back of my new piercing. You want to continue doing this 1 to 2 times a day, depending on what your piercer has recommended to you, but you don't want to exceed 2 times a day, as you can then over clean your piercing and dry it out from there. When your piercing gets dried out, it then tries to overcompensate by producing more lymphatic fluid to the area, so that's something we want to avoid. And of course, cleaning new piercings can differ for everyone depending on the piercing you have. So for example, what I just showed you, that would be ideal for anything on the face that isn't an oral piercing or an ear piercing, and also some intimate or body piercings as well, depending. However, with piercings like oral piercings, you will then have to opt for an oral piercing spray, or in some instances even be using an alcohol-free mouthwash as well. However, the same rule still applies with your twice a day rule, or 1 to 2 days depending on your piercing and your body's needs. Aside from saline solution, what is a general rule of thumb of how you should care for your piercing? So caring for your piercing is very simple. So generally we usually go for the leave it the hell alone approach, which means no touching, no picking at it, no twisting, etc. Just so that way it can be undisturbed throughout its healing process, and so that way you're minimizing how much bacteria and dirt is coming in contact with your piercing. Plus you're also not disrupting the healing as it's doing so. So for example, when the piercing is actually healing, something like cartilage for example, it heals from the outside in. You're twisting the piercing, you are disrupting that healing every single time, and your cartilage piercing has to backtrack and try and heal all the way over again. This then also leads into what should you avoid when healing your new piercing. So this kind of ranges depending on the piercing you're getting. For example, ear piercings, you want to avoid things like sleeping on them. Again, twisting and touching, that kind of goes for any piercing, but especially sleeping on it or leaning on the piercing or bumping it with things like your glasses or so on. We also are human, so you are going to bump them a little bit here and there, but just being that little bit extra mindful of your new healing piercing. And then with things like an oral piercing, for example, there are some foods that you might need to avoid. So things like spicy foods, things with raw dairy in them. This is because of the live cultures that exist in raw dairy, and it can actually affect your healing piercing and even give you a nasty infection. So that's just something to be mindful of too. And then for other piercings, such as eyebrow piercings or facial piercings, things like makeup should be avoided, or at least not applied to the actual piercing side itself. And then for other piercings like intimate piercings, you might need to be more mindful about your intimacy and how often that occurs, or how far into your healing journey you are allowed to participate in that, and that is definitely something to talk to with your piercer. You should also avoid swimming in pools or large bodies of water while healing a fresh piercing, just because of the levels of bacteria or dirt. You can risk infection because of this too. You should also be downsizing your piercing. So downsizing your piercing is when, of course, you get the longer bar to accommodate for your swelling when you first get your piercing, and then once that swelling subsides, you need to put in a shorter bar to make sure that there is no sliding back and forth, so that way your risk of irritation bumps or irritation in general is a lot more minimized. This also helps the piercing settle and heal at a faster rate as well, because it's less likely to be disrupted by a longer bar, or it's less likely to heal at an angle if you do end up sleeping on it in the future. With downsizing here at Off Your Tree, you are given a date every single time you get a piercing with us, or if you're unsure and you've forgotten that date, you're welcome to give your local OYT a call to find out when your downsize date is. It is always best to try and stick to that downsize date and try not to go too far past that or too early before that date as well, just so that way you don't end up with problems such as the jewelry being encapsulated by your skin when it swells. And lastly, what happens if we forget to do any of these things and then we have issues in the long run? Or what happens if we've forgotten to do any of these things and we're scared that we're going to run into issues in the long run? Honestly, we are human. It's not the end of the world if you accidentally bump, sleep on, twist, or pick at your piercing. Nothing detrimental is going to happen. This occurs when it is prolonged and repeated behaviors in neglecting to heal your piercing properly, and that is when you're going to meet with roadblocks or potential irritation, and in some cases even infection. So if you've forgotten a couple of times, that's okay. Don't stress. It happens, and the best thing to do is to consult with your piercer on how you can combat this moving forward. Hopefully this video was super informative for you guys, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below and we'll get back to as many as we can. And in future, keep out for more informational videos like this, so that way if you have any piercing questions, you can just come on down here and get the answer. Bye guys.